A few months ago, Beetzee had the honor to listen to her story in an episode of Hawud. Throughout the course of our interview, we not only got up close and personal with a powerhouse woman in the industry, but have also gained valuable insights that inspire and empower. Beetzers, we're giving you the full length of that interview only here in the podcast. I'm Danny Fuentes, your host, and this is Koan featuring Miss Grace Sycip Romano. Joining us today is a powerhouse in the wedding and events industry with an impressive 18 years of experience. She's a cancer survivor, a wife, a dedicated mother of five, and a former commercial banker who turned her passion and creativeness into a thriving brand. Beetzers, let's welcome the incredibly inspiring Grace Sycip Romano. Hi, ma'am. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for welcoming us into your beautiful home. And of course, thank you also for inserting Bitsy into your very hectic schedule. I know November, ma'am, is a month for you to do or to set up and decorate Christmas trees. Is that right? Yeah. I want to ask, ma'am, how did that start?
Well, actually, Danny, this year is our 10th year since we
Okay.
started Christmas Trees of Hope. When I started Christmas Trees of Hope 10 years ago, I did not have cancer yet, but my best friend, Dr. Sheila Lou Flores, who is also a cancer survivor, she's a pediatric oncologist. Well, she had cancer 15 years ago. She was 32 then. So she had this Thanksgiving celebration for kids with cancer every December. And it was 10 years ago when I decided to. The first year was not even renting trees. We were selling Christmas trees. And then I realized that it would be better to rent out trees because it's less hassle for the people who rent it. And you can change your theme every year because you don't have to buy the whole tree. So I said I wanted to do something for these kids with cancer because for me, I always felt that cancer is for the older people, not for kids. It's just too painful for them. So every year, I would help my best friend Sheila. I would provide decors. I would give loot bags, stuff like that, from the proceeds of the Christmas trees.
Okay.
Now, that was 10 years ago. We started with 4 trees. And this year, we are closing the season, although we have not finished installing all the trees. We are closing the season at around 115 trees. But yes, what is also sad is every year there's more kids who need help.
Right, right. Okay, ma'am. So you said it started kind of, is it like a passion project with your friend? Or it really
You
was
could call it that. Yeah, because I always believe Christmas is for kids.
right.
And even kids that go through pain should also still feel the joy and happiness of Christmas.
Exactly, exactly. And of course, for starters, and I'm pretty sure, everyone in Dumaguete is familiar with the name Grace Sycip. But probably not everyone knows how this all started, right? So you've been in the industry for 18 long years.
Yes.
How did the events industry draw you from your corporate job and then you transitioned into the events industry?
Okay, so it was not really me resigning from the bank because of the events.
Okay.
In 2004, my dad had a stroke. So I had to help him in the farm. My dad used to run a sugarcane farm up north. So she had a stroke December 2004, and I felt I had to go home to the farm often. So it was just interfering with my being a banker.
Okay.
So I decided in 2006 to resign after 10 years of working in a commercial bank. I just waited for my 10th year.
Okay.
And it was also the year that it wasn't really it was not something that I thought of doing. It just happened. So the pastor of my church at the time was getting married, and our senior pastor asked me to help them coordinating was not even a term at the time, you know. We had to do everything. It was usually the weddings at the time was done by an auntie or a tita or
A
a
relative.
teacher, you know. So I was just there to help.
Okay.
So I because I like decorating. So
Okay.
I didn't even know that I was getting into it. I was just there to help. And then so we did the wedding. It was at South Seas, the previous South Seas Resort Hotel. And the only photographer I knew at the time was the icon Sir Ed Vergara. Because he also did my shoots when I was in high school. So I got Sir Ed, and so we did the wedding. And then Sir Ed told me he had a groom looking for a female coordinator or somebody who could help him plan his wedding. So I told him, you ask your friend to come to South Sea on that night so I can meet him. And that friend, Sir Ed's friend, happened to be my high school classmate.
Okay, small world.
Yeah, small world. So I don't even know if he trusted me, but he hired me because he was my classmate, so he probably had no choice.
Okay, yeah.
So I did Ayan and Merly Rubio Ruperto's wedding, and we had it at St. Paul's Open Hall.
Okay.
That was 18 years ago. So that was supposedly my second wedding. And when I did that wedding, the caterer was Mac Neloy, whose daughter is also my classmate in high school.
Okay.
So my high school friend, Claudine, told me she had another bride looking for a coordinator. So it really just, you know,
it was
it was
basically
not something that I planned.
yeah, but it was
Yeah.
people
It was
approaching
people's
you.
recommendation from friends.
Right.
Yeah.
But what was that light bulb moment, ma'am, that you said, okay, I actually could do this for a career. I could do this for a living. I can adapt to the industry. I know somehow what I'm doing. What was that moment for you?
I wouldn't say there was a eureka moment, Danny.
Okay.
Everything just happened, you know. I was just going with the flow. Because at the time, it was not even an industry, you know. It was so, I resigned from my job because I had to help my dad. So I had days that I had free time. So like I was doing events just once a month, once every 2 months. So it was just something that I found joy in doing because at the time, I really did not like to go into farming. I was just forced to go into farming. So this was a creative outlet, more of creative outlet for me. Something that I enjoyed doing. So yeah, so it was not really I did not, now that you're asking me, it was not something that I really planned on doing. And it was not also something that I said I would still be doing after 18 years.
Right, for sure.
So, yeah, I didn't have a eureka moment.
But during that time, if I understand it correctly, you were already balancing handling your father's business, is that correct? While also doing events as your creative outlet.
Yes.
Right. But then when did you do this everything like full time?
Maybe I would say a year after that or 2 years after that. But really, even now, after 18 years, I would say it's 60% of what I do because there's so many other things that I do. I help my husband run his business. I am a mother. I am a daughter. I'm a gardener. So it's really, I cannot say that it's 100% of me.
Right.
But everything is 100% of me.
For sure. Everything that you do is makes you you. Right.
Yes.
And also, ma'am, you've been very open about your journey battling cancer. And I also stated earlier in the intro that you are a woman that wears many hats. Like what you said, you are a mother, you're a wife, you're a homemaker, and you are in the industry that is highly stressful and demanding, if I could call it that, right? How did your personal journey battling cancer shape or perhaps even change the way you deal with the industry and how the demands of the industry?
Many things, Danny. I would say cancer has made me more compassionate, made me more patient, probably made me more understanding because I was a very uptight person. In fact, my husband would say I never laughed. I
Oh,
was
okay.
always serious and always angry.
Really, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to
Maybe
tell.
because I was juggling so many events, you
Right,
know?
right. Mm.
So even when I sleep, even when I eat,
That's
even
all
my
you think
dreams
about.
were all about events. So I really did not have time to, I didn't have time to enjoy, you know? So I would say, maybe doctors will refute this, but I would say that cancer was inevitable because of my personality, because of how I handled things. I was so OC. I did not accept room for error at the time. So it was like my adrenaline was always rushing. And well, they say it's one of the causes of cancer. I mean, one of the major causes of cancer is stress.
Right.
So what really caused my stress was myself because it was how I would respond to things. So how has cancer mellowed me down? In so many ways? Because once you are faced with death, and then you realize, is it all worth it? At the end of the day, when the curtain is down, when all the trucks have been loaded to go home, you still go home to the people you love. And you still are a mother and a wife.
Yes, you did say, I'm pretty sure obviously, it wasn't good news, right, for the family. How did that also change the dynamic of your family? Because you did mention it was a very stressful time. You were so uptight. Your husband says you never laugh, But how, for sure, with you going through cancer, that whole experience also changed your personal relationships with people, not just your relationship with your work. How did that happen? And what were the changes that you could recall?
Okay. So, I set these standards for myself. I had this, I don't even know what you call it. I always wanted to be the first stylist to open every event venue. So I did Antulang, I did Henry, I did the convention center, to name a few. And when I had cancer, it was when Vineyard opened.
Okay.
And Vineyard is owned by my classmate. And so while I was going through chemotherapy, I told my husband, June, love, I can't open Vineyard. I can't be the first to do an event there because I'm going through chemo. And you know what my husband told me? He said, you know, people will not even remember that you were the first coordinator or event stylist who did the first event in what venue. But your kids will always remember that you were not there for them. And so I realized, yeah, if I die, my kids don't even know me. I do parties for everybody, but I don't even, the energy I give for my family is what is left of the energy that I have given all my events.
Right, right, right.
And also, when I had cancer, I know, Danny, that I survived it because I was carried on the wings of love. For instance, when my husband found out that I had cancer, I didn't even have time to do my garden. My house was a mess because I was just so busy. You couldn't even see me in the house. So it was like, yeah, my garden was a mess. My house was a mess. And when the doctor said that my tumor was malignant, my husband went to Valencia. He bought a gumamela plant. So he told me, I will buy you a gumamela plant every time you have chemotherapy. So me being a hoarder, I said, 6 chemos only, so I'll only have 6 plants. And so I posted it on Facebook that I was growing a garden of grace, but it's not really grace na my name, it's the grace of him above. Friends from the industry, they brought me so many gumamela plants. I don't even know if you still remember. I got over 400 plants, different varieties, different colors. So I planted them all with gumamela while I was having cancer. So, I felt that I had to I had to pass forward the love and the compassion that I received when I had cancer. When I would go to Cebu for my chemo sessions, Matiao Barge waived all my
Your fare.
yes, my fare, my car fare, for all my chemotherapy and all my Herceptin sessions. That's 18 sessions in all. So I know that I am not here for myself. I know that I am here to pass on the love that I felt, that I received. So it's the reason why I feel I am more patient with suppliers when they make boo-boos. I don't shout anymore. I am kinder. I feel, but I don't know. You ask them. Although I still have that streak because I am alpha. But now I have the time to listen to their problems. I have the time to understand people who are going through pain. Things that I did not understand before,
It kept you grounded.
I feel.
But yeah, for sure, ma'am, with that story, it is indeed very inspiring because what I'm getting from that is you don't only show up as a coordinator, as a stylist, but now you show up also as a friend. You have made relationships with the people that you've worked with.
I would say 85% of my friends now I met in the wedding industry. Although I have like my high school barkada who has been with me for the last, 4, 5 decades. But I gained so many friends in the industry. Yeah.
Right.
In fact, I have brides who I feel are my children from my heart.
But I don't, maybe a lot would also think with an industry as demanding and as stressful as this, the events industry, wedding industry, it also may not be that easy to gain good friendships. How were you able to develop friends for life that would really go through the thick and the thin with you?
When you're authentic. Because I would say the events industry, I always say, is a marriage of madness and magic. But I feel, Danny, that you gain friends when you are authentic, when you really show who you really are. You don't pretend. You don't make magic only one night and then be a different person the following day. So I tell you, I am this. This is what I expect from you. This is what I will do for you. So I feel that you gain friends when you're authentic. But then again, you can't help it. Some come, some go.
Right, right. But how do you draw the line between work and personal?
Well, you have not asked me this question, but if you ask me what is the most stressful thing of being an event coordinator, I would say balancing family life and work. Before cancer, it was all about work. And I would comfort myself with the thought that I'm doing this because I'm providing for my kids. But really, when you go through the valley, Danny, you realize sometimes it's not worth it. And sometimes, I'm not saying my job is not worth it, but sometimes the feeling busy is not really what your kids need. It's not the things that you provide for them. It's the time that you get to know them because life is short. Like 30, your friend, who's my son.
Hey,
When I
Twinnies.
saw him, he was 2 years old. The next time I see him, he's 12. And then when my mom passed in 2020, I realized there were so many things I did not know about my kids because it was my mom who was taking care of them while I was busy. So I would say, well, yeah, when I went through my first chemotherapy and I was down in bed, and my husband told me, I don't like seeing you like this, but I am happy that my wife is back. So you don't realize that the people who love you, care for you, you take for granted because really the events industry takes up so much of your time and your energy. So now I have learned to say no.
Okay.
There are events. I have passed that stage, Danny, when I count how many events I have every month. And you feel that you are better than all the rest when you have more events. After cancer, it made me realize that life does not have to be lived that way. Now I know how to say no. I don't look at how much I lost by not saying yes to that event. But I have learned to balance saying yes to an event and attending the activities of my children.
Right.
So I would say cancer has taught me that.
Right.
If I did not have cancer, I wouldn't even know if my husband would still be there, because I was always not in the house. So yes, I wouldn't say I'm perfect in that area, but I would say I have gotten better to balancing work and family life.
That's great. That's really great to hear. But I also want to know, ma'am, because it took years, of you being this hustler, always saying yes, go, 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 always, right? And then cancer happened, and then things took a 180 turn. But how? What were the things that your family had to also sacrifice? I'm pretty sure it was tough also for them, maybe growing up, perhaps there were milestones that were missed, um, and now would you say that they were very understanding, or there were also moments when you had to make them understand, the kids especially?
Okay, my first three kids, they never talked back to me. They were from a different generation,
Okay.
So once you just bat an eyelash on them, they keep quiet. Except your friend, Ernie.
Twinny.
Yeah, 30 is the type who he really sat me down.
Wow.
One day, I went to his room at the height of my being busy. He sat me down and then he told me, you're like an OFW mother. I wanted to say so many things, but then I kept myself from saying it because I felt that I had to listen to him this time.
Okay, this was before cancer.
This was before
Okay.
cancer. I was so
wow,
busy.
Twinny.
Yeah. JD and Tanya, they're very compliant.
Okay.
I know they don't like the industry that I am in because they feel that I wasn't there when they were growing up, but they understood.
Okay.
Now, with my two boys now, they really tell me, you're just too busy, So, this time, I know, Danny, I was given by the Lord the second chance to be a mother. So that I cannot afford to bungle. So, I make sure that I have time to be with them, even if it means losing income.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I think that's what matters now. Life, relationships, family.
Yes.
But going back, ma'am, to how you are as a stylist, a coordinator, event stylist, I'm pretty sure that every client is different.
Yes.
How do you meet the demands or standards of clients that are, you would say, terribly high, if there were any?
I okay. I don't say yes to everything.
Okay.
Okay. I tell them what I can do and what I cannot do. Now, if I feel that what they demand is something that I cannot provide, I tell them.
Okay.
I tell them straight that maybe you have to get someone else, or I am not the person who is enough for you. So
So you've had encounters of clients like that?
let's just say I had two or three.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So, like what I said, I just become authentic. I just tell them.
And I think that's what's important.
Yes.
At
And
the
there
end
are
of the
also
day.
clients who come to me, Danny, who say, I'm minimalist. I want a simple, like I tell them straight out, I'm not minimalist. So you have to look for someone else.
Okay. So it has to, when maybe your client and you has to resonate with each other.
Yes.
Right, right. But were there any moments, ma'am, that things didn't go as planned? Because I think that's the nature of the industry. For me, for example, when I host events, it's not always what's stated on the program flow. There will be changes, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Many, many times.
And how?
Many times. I also have my share of bashing.
Right.
you
Okay.
know?
So how do you handle that? And what was that experience like?
Okay. So even after, when was that? The last bashing. I had two bashings in my life. So the last bashing was probably 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
It's something I don't want to talk about because clients' expectations and clients' budgets sometimes do not jive.
Right.
And they compare their event with some of my events whose budgets are like 5 times their event, you know. So, I cry. I get hurt. But at the end of the day, Danny, when I know that I gave everything and I gave what was expected or what was more than what was expected, after I cry, after I sulk, I move on, you know. So because really, especially in my event, in my world, in our world, styling depends on the taste of the person. You cannot please everybody. What may be nice to you may not be nice to them. So it really it all boils down to being authentic with each other.
Right.
So I can read what they really like, and they can also read what I can do.
Right, right. And I think with the viewers watching, especially those that are still maybe starting out in this industry, basically what you do, they can also get something from you, get something from this interview that, oh, okay, it's normal. It's normal that you don't get to please all of your clients. It's normal that you have had experiences where you yourself were not pleased with the outcome of the event. How do you handle that, like personally, because you did say before cancer and everything, you were so hard on yourself? If I may use the term, you were quite a perfectionist.
Yes.
You wanted everything to go exactly as planned, but the reality is it doesn't. Right, it doesn't, and it is out of our control. So maybe for our viewers who are also starting out as event stylists and coordinators, what could you tell them?
You know, Danny, let me deviate a bit. It's expected that you don't please all your clients. I mean, there's one or two, you know. What is painful is when your colleague in the wedding industry does the bashing.
Right.
You know, they hear something, and then especially with the advent of social media. When I started, Facebook was pretty new. And we were all friends. We were not competing with each other, you know. But what is painful for me is when you are bashed by your own colleague in the industry.
Someone that knows how it works.
Someone that supposedly knows how it works, you know?
Right, right.
So for me, Danny, give and take 5% you don't please. It happens. But what is more hurting is when your own colleague
Right,
destroys you,
right,
even if they know that's not the truth.
right.
Yeah. So, you know, it happens. So with cancer, before cancer, I would say I'll screenshot that and sue them in court. But you know, after cancer, Danny, it makes you realize, so what? You know,
Right.
they're entitled to their opinion, and you know your truth.
Right, right. And I think what I'm also getting from that, ma'am, is, and also to our viewers, hopefully they will also get that the lesson that it happens. And what you can only control is how you react to things.
Yes.
And
I would rather respond than react,
right.
because you know, it's not worth the wrinkles. Yeah.
I agree, ma'am. And also, one last thing before we proceed to the next topic. We talked about your life as a mother, your life as a professional, your life with your family as a wife. Let's go to you. With the events industry, having to end late night, sometimes early in the morning, how do you still find time for self-care?
That I like. Okay. So I used to, okay. So what I have really learned, Danny, after cancer and after COVID, after that corona scare, is to collaborate.
Okay.
So what I do is I plan everything, I coordinate everything, but on the day of the event, I hire on the day coordinators. Why? Well, I used to have my own coordinators. But then, you know, we all move on. And they also end up wanting to be principal coordinators themselves, which is also good because they're just earning a living. So what I have learned is to collaborate with younger coordinators. I have 3 or 4 who I work with, and they are after the program, I leave. I don't stay for the party anymore. When I know everything is set, everything is done, I don't stay for the party anymore.
Okay.
Because I promised my husband that I will not come home at 2 a.m. So that's our agreement. For me to stay in the industry, I have to have restrictions.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one. Yeah, I've learned to delegate. And how do I take care of myself? I love journaling.
Okay.
I am not a good writer, but I doodle. I like writing my thoughts, but it's, if you read my diary, it's not the Palanca awardee type of. It's just my thoughts.
Right.
I still actually no. It's funny. That's my stress reliever. So I have so many journals. I have journal for work. I don't do online scheduling because I like writing,
Right.
and I do. Yeah, it's my mental health care. I do journals. I do planners. I go to the spa. I garden. I like gardening, but recently it has been very hot, so I don't like to stay outside. So those are my simple joys, Danny. I love collecting scissors. I love stickers. At 51, I still have stickers. So just,
So you've always been creative. And basically now, the way you let out your stress is in a creative way, but in a different sense. Now,
yes.
right? It's more
It's
personal.
calmer.
Yeah.
When I had panic attacks after my mom died and after chemotherapy, it was the garden that saved me. It was like I would find joy in seeing a new shoot, something that I thought I did. I always felt that I was not a green thumb. I would buy plants for an event and just throw them away afterwards. But look, my house is so
Your
full of
house is
plants.
and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful one. It's very calming, very peaceful. And okay, this time, ma'am, let's talk about the industry being business, basically. So you started 18 years ago. Basically, you said earlier it wasn't even an industry yet. Right?
Yes.
How was the journey like, and what did you have to go through to make a name for yourself in the industry?
Okay, so keeping my brand alive after 18 years.
Yes,
in short.
exactly.
Number one, it probably is in my DNA. My parents wanted me to become a doctor, my mom being a doctor. So I enrolled in medical school for 1 semester. I just made sure I would pass all my subjects, but I knew that I wouldn't go back.
Okay.
Because, Danny, I couldn't tell the difference between an onion skin and a human skin. It was just not me. So but I made sure I passed everything. So my mom would not say that I flunked, that's why I stopped. So I told her I passed everything, but I'm not going back.
Okay.
So I told my dad, it's either I go crazy or my patient goes crazy. So I always was in the arts. In high school, I like practical arts. I like cross-stitching. I like sewing. So I would say it's probably in my blood. It's probably ingrained in me. It's my chi. It's who I am. So sometimes it just flows.
Right.
So I would say I am still here because it's really who I am. I don't mean to be evil, but there are people who feel that this industry you earn so much, so they get into it even if it's not their passion. It's different, Danny, when you do something with love. When you do something you like to do, profit will always follow.
For sure.
Second, I would say I benchmark. I look at the giants. I love Gideon Hermosa. I love Colin. It's so many stylists that I follow. But I don't look horizontally. Because for me, but this is only me, it doesn't have to apply to everybody. Once you start looking horizontally, you stagnate because you're all the same. And it's a point of envy. I really do not like the killing each other in our own industry.
Crab mentality.
Yes. So I don't even follow anyone locally.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
I have stopped looking locally. You know, they can do what they like to do, and I would cheer them on. But I know where I stand. I know where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, I would say I was not one, or I am not a believer of the lowest bidder. In fact, I don't join biddings.
Mm.
Because, Danny, to stay this long, you have to make sure the people under you are thriving. They're not only surviving, they also have to thrive. And my workforce are not on calls. They work with me 365 days a year. I make sure that they have the government requirements, they have insurance, you know. So it adds on to my cost. But for me, the industry is open, the industry is big. There are clients for me and there are clients for you. So it's probably one of the reasons why Creative Concepts is still here after 18 years.
Right, right.
So that's just three of the things that I can think of now. But I know also my brand is not only me. My brand is the people who work with me. I don't even say they're my workers. I would say they're my colleagues. Because really, like what you probably witnessed, I design, I tell them this is what I like, but they are the ones who really know how to execute it.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of something, I talk to my lead man, and then he tells me, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. So really, I cannot function if it's just me. And one of the reasons why I try to avoid overnight setups, because like my welder is 62 years old, my carpenter is 58 years old, you know, although I have young ones, but they've been with me for so long.
Yeah, and I think that's also a reflection of how you are as, if you may use the term, as their boss, right? I don't think someone would stay long with somebody who does not treat them right. And I really like how you don't see them as people that work for you. They're people that work with
With
you.
me, yes.
Right. And for 18 years, ma'am, and Creative Concept is still here, wildly known, maybe not only in the city, in the province. Uh, what was your biggest lesson when you were still starting out that you still carry with you until 18 years after?
To really know who you are. Yeah. Because I feel that I wouldn't be here if I just followed all the trends,
Right.
you know? Because trends come and trends go. But if you know who you are, and if you know your chi or who you are inside, then no circumstance will change you.
Definitely. And that's actually in connection to my next question, because 18 years is a significant amount of time. And trends have come and go, like what you said. Generations prefer different things,
Yes.
right? How do you keep up with times changing?
Like what I said, I benchmark.
Okay.
But you know, when I was starting, brides would call me Grace. After 8 to 10 years, brides would call me Tita. And now I even have Lola, you know? Like, so, am I this age? Yeah, I am. So, there are trends that I adapt to,
Mm-hmm.
but there are, there are things that I still infuse.
Okay.
In fact, I even said, I probably cannot do debuts anymore when I'm 60, you know? Because I'll be too old. I mean, my designs or how I look at things will be too old. Like, before, when we had our JS prom many, many years ago at the Silliman Gym, it ends at 9 p.m. Our parents will be waiting for us outside to pick us up. And now when I do the proms, after they disperse from the venue, they all go to the boulevard and go drinking the whole night. So, you know, things change. So, yeah, I infuse new trends with what I'm most comfortable
Right,
with.
right.
Yeah.
So that, I think that still goes back to staying true to who you are,
Yes.
right? Not changing your core. Going back, Ma'am Grace, to 18 years ago, if you can, is there anything you would have changed when you just started out?
I would say, Danny, I probably would have loved more. I probably would have been more patient. I probably would choose relationships over trying to be the best. You know, I'm not saying I'm the best, but you always have this feeling that you try to be the best. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, you know? It really doesn't matter. When I was faced with death, I realized, yeah, I I've stopped counting how many events I've done. I used to have a log.
Really?
And at the end of the month, I would say 20 events, 19 events, 17 events. And my husband told me, it all goes to your chemo, which is true. So now I do events with love. I choose the events that make my heart happy. And if I know that even if I earn from this event, but I know that it does not add to my life, I pass them on.
Right, that's really nice. And to wrap up this episode, we've talked about 18 years ago. Now, 18 years after, ma'am, I'm sure with all those years have passed, that entailed also a lot of sacrifices. Now, I'd like to ask you, was everything worth it?
I have no room for regrets. I would say it happened, it was my choice, then I would say it was all worth it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Beetzers, once again, Grace Sycip Romano. Ma'am, you would like to, if you can, maybe you'd like to plug anything, or maybe just say hi, hello to your friends and everyone that's been supportive of your career.
Maybe I would just say thank you to everyone who has been with us from the time we opened our doors until now. I do not know until when, but yes, I would just like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
All right, ma'am, perhaps our followers or our viewers would also like to follow you and see the wonderful works you've done. Where can they find you?
Okay, we have a social media Facebook account, which is Creative Concepts, Events, and Services. But they can also follow me, Grace Myriame Sycip Romano, because, I mix up these two. I'm not that techie. So, yes, if you can follow us to see what we're busy with, just follow those two social media accounts, Creative Concepts, Events, and Services, and Grace Myriame Sycip Romano.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. And once again, thank you very much, Beetzers.